Hello, hello, hello. We are using this as a submission for the Sonic Isometric Trilogy, as well as a breakdown of each individual game that goes along with that. So before the first game starts, everything in the Sonic ISO trilogy is set up to run back to back to back. Everything is muted when it's necessarily muted and needs to come into play when it comes into play. So the first game is Sega Sonic, and it is played on the MAME emulator. We are using an Xbox One controller that's connected to our PC, but we're running this on MAME. So Sega Sonic, we're doing the beat the game single player, and we have chosen Sonic. You can choose any character. They're essentially the same. So the first thing we have to do is break out of that. You can't actually die there. You'll get pushed through if you don't break out. But we're in our first level, Volcanic Vault, which is somewhat of a tutorial, if you call it a tutorial. But again, this is an arcade game, so you actually, can't really have a tutorial when it comes down to that. So you'll actually kind of see right there, like kind of the world map, and then it blows us into this volcano. So first thing is we're going to run down this hill, trying to escape this giant molten lava ball. It gets really, really close to us to the end, but we're just going to kind of fall down. And Sonic screams as he's falling. We land on this, and the ball lands on that, and then we get shot up into the air through the ground, and we actually have to press the jump button to get out. We run on this little conveyor belt, and we jump over. We have to actually backtrack a little bit. If you don't backtrack fast enough, you'll do what I did there, which Sonic will kind of like run along the edge, and like he'll fall in there. We do that a few times. We then have to hold up and climb up this wooden bridge up here. Then we just got to run down here. We're almost to the end of the level. We got to dodge the sections. There's falling ground that doesn't exist, is on the top and the bottom of those pieces. They're in the same spot each time. And we have cleared a volcanic vault. So that is the first thing there. This is a Japanese exclusive only game. There's like 2 or 3, I believe, actual cabinets in America. The one that closest, no, there is one that's actually in Florida. But I'd have to ask one of our other fellow runners more specifics there. The audio for this game is actually pretty fantastic. I know we don't have a lot of audio when we're doing this, as I'm doing our voiceover for this, but it's the music's actually really, really good, as well as the noises that Eggman makes, as well as when Sonic kind of jumps off and screams and stuff like that there as well. Well, now we are in our second stage. We are in Icy Isle. We are going to be kind of, the whole ice gimmick. Now, there's not too many, actually, I'll lie. There is ice physics here, which is unfortunate. We got to first cross over this platform here. It kind of breaks, then we get shot back up there. We can't do anything. This is kind of like the little auto part of the game. Here is the ice physics. It's not terrible, but if you do hit one of those spikes there, like the spears, it'll actually kind of bounce you backwards, so it does take a little bit there, but I just kind of go up to it and get stuck purposely. Then we're going to run down this section here, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to kind of hold that there. We got to make a couple of jumps each time onto different platforms. One is coming up here that's moving away from us, so we're going to make that jump on that and then jump across as it's going. We should be able to make each of those jumps as we do it properly, and we don't have to wait. And that's already Icy Isle, a very short ice level, which is the best types of ice levels, very, very short, so it does not affect us at all there. So now we are going to go into Desert Dodge. This is a little bit of a longer stage with some different types of, I don't want to call them platforms, environment, ground, if you would even call it that. The ground does change surfaces for this. So we're going to start here by running down to the left, and we're just going to try to stay in the middle as the sand is kind of caving in towards us. If we stay in the middle, we won't actually have any issues. And then this isn't fully intentional, but it's not terrible if we get stuck in the middle. It just teleports us to the other side for that. We try to do the same thing. We want to stay in the middle, but if you start playing this game, when you're working that down right, you can't actually just like stay in that angle. So as you see, I'm staying straight. I'm just able to hold left. If I'm going a different view, you'll see Sonic kind of move back and forth, because the game with the controller actually can't have Sonic just hold that one direction. But like there we were holding up, now we're holding left again. We're kind of escaping this giant like centipede type animal bug thingamajig. a tremor, if you will. But it's gone past us, so now we're like in some little quicksand. We're in some softer sand, so we can't fully run. You also can't jump over into it and then go, because once you jump, as you saw, Sonic will like teleport right to the ground from where we're going there. So then we're getting a little bit more quicksand there. It's a little bit faster, but we ignore this actual sinkhole. We're still going, we're still pushing on. We're getting close to the end of the stage here. And there it is. We were able to outrun those little tornadoes. And we have beat Desert Dodge. We have dodged those sand tornadoes. There we go. We don't want to collect out a lot of rings. It doesn't matter. Rings don't really matter in this game for what we're doing. And it helps minimize the ending scene there. So now we are headed to Trap Tower. We're going to Trap Tower. Trap Tower does as you would, kind of think. It does have a bunch of little traps, a bunch of little contraptions that we're trying to get away. And I believe this is the first time that we will see a boss fight. Or I'm thinking the wrong stage. But anyways, we're going through here. So we're avoiding these traps. So we're just going to run up to it. Now, there is a way to fully keep running and jumping. You would jump over some of those. It has done me faster just to kind of run up to it, slow down, and keep going. That way we don't get crushed, and that way we don't bonk into it, because when you bonk into it, you'll get hit backwards, and then you'll actually lose time, and then you'll get hit back into that rolling spike thing that's attacking you, and we don't want any of that there. So now we're climbing the giant wall, and our goal is to avoid these explosions. If you walk fast enough forward up, you actually can dodge those, and unfortunately I get hit twice and take a death. The good thing about this game is we're not playing on an actual arcade cabinet. We don't need quarters to play the game. So we can just kind of instantly reset us, and it just picks us up right where we're at, and we can keep continuing. So that is Trap Tower. That was not the boss fight. This next level, Landside Limbo, is our first boss fight. We only got 8 rings, 20%, so another good little quick there. We lost time in this PB attempt because of the damage that we took and kind of getting shot off of the wall there. All right, so now we head into Landslide Limbo. So Landslide Limbo is, so the cool thing about each of these stages, it kind of they correlate with each other. So as you're leaving one stage, the kind of previous stage kind of leads into the new stage. That's a cool little mechanic thing that they have there. Here's, to me, one of the hardest things to do in this game is to grab those swings. You can't jump off when it wants you to jump off. It does it on its own, but to grab it can be very finicky at times. And I have lost tons of time just to try to grab those there. We got shot over a couple of little catapults, and we're still making our way now as the ground is breaking around us. If we pick the same route each time, we're going to be okay, which puts us right in the middle. So as long as we stay in the middle, we will not die right there. Even though the arrows point to the left, we want to go to the right, so it's kind of like a fake wall, cartoon style there. And now we're waking our way up to the hill to beat the first boss, and really only actual boss fight. This is just a terrible boss fight, just perspective, the way it controls. I got to get to a good spot. If you get to a good spot, it works, but you can see I'm not hitting him every single attack that I'm jumping. So it's if I'm jumping too soon, then I'll hit too high and it won't register. If I jump too late, then I'll hit too low and it won't register, and all that stuff there. So we're just kind of basically damage boost our way through the fight. And once we get into a correct spot, we can just hold up and left, and we get it. After the necessary hits, the boss blows up and we jump in the hole, and we have beat Landslide Limbo. And now we are headed to the worst stage in the game. I despise this stage, and it's only 2 specific parts of the stage that are absolutely terrible, and I'll explain that as we get there. All right. So Wild Water Way. So we start off on top of this bridge, and we actually have to run to the edge of the bridge and then make Sonic fall off. So we just kind of run off we're going to fall off there. It's faster to do it quicker that way. And then we get dunked into some water. Don't worry. We're not going to hear any kind of death music here. So we're just going to hold down and left and let Sonic kind of run against the wall. He moves the exact same speed as if he wasn't going against this wall here. So the wall does not slow us down. And we will not take any damage whatsoever running against the wall here. So we basically don't have any issues for about 25-30 seconds while we're in here. As you can see, I even kind of look down a little bit. I'm like, whatever, because I know it does not matter what I do here. We're going to get to the end the exact same time. The one spot to make this a little bit faster is when we get closer to the end, I realize it, and I'm pushing up before the water says go. So then we're just going to climb this. So it's similar to those explosions that we had, but now it said it's water breaking through. We want to make sure we just climb fast enough and straight enough, and then we won't get hit by water. And now here's the worst section of the entire game. We're going to take a dunk a bunch of times because no matter how you control Sonic, it just does not cooperate, and you go in different directions. I get dunked in water, I can't peel off. It does not cooperate. So it's really faster just to keep kind of dying and just let the game push you forward as far as you can. There are unfortunately 2 sections to this. Once you beat the 2 sections, the level is really short. It's basically over once we're done. But sometimes the game even basically puts us in the water right when it brings us up. And I hit the edge and I can kind of get dunked in 2 seconds, as you can see here. So we're just really just pushing forward, kind of damage boosting as much as we can as we're going. And then you can see there's a little ledge, and we're almost done with this here. So we're going to try to make one more side jump, and we're done with this stage. And that's Wild Waterways. And again, that section is just so frustrating because that's the one direction that does not cooperate with Sonic going from controller to trackball. But now we are in our last level of the game. We are in Eggman's Tower. We are at the end of Sega Sonic. All right, we are at the end of Sega Sonic. So we have one stage left. There is no boss fight here. It's basically just kind of a Metroid-esque get out of the level type thing. The first thing we're going to do is similar to the one stage is we're going to try not to run into that, even unfortunately we do and get hit by that. We basically just want to run up to it, stop, and then just go when it goes. Now you can jump over these spiky parts, but if you kind of jump over the wrong ones, you get hit back, and it's much more consistent just to run into them. Not actually make contact with them, but run into them and then just keep going. We're going to keep holding down and right, kind of shift back and forth. As you can see, that again is the one direction that does not cooperate, and this direction as well. As you can see, I'm like zigzagging because I can't just hold a direction and Sonic goes there. The down direction does work nicely here. So I'm just going to keep pushing forward here. Hopefully I don't continually to take damage. We just want to walk up to them and then go through there. We bonked twice, not the end of the world. But we got through here. We got one more section where the ground falls from underneath us. And as we go through here, we normally take a death towards the end. It's really, really hard to beat that timing, but we can do it. But it's very, very finicky. And then we got one more section here. We're going to run up to Eggman. We're going to say, hey, Eggman, what's going on? He lets us in for whatever reason. I don't know why. He's laughing and basically is telling us, I just set off a self-destruct and you're not going to be able to get out. Ha, 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 I tricked you and you're going to die. So we have 20 seconds to essentially run down here. Now, I don't know how fast Eggman really is because we don't actually see him. We don't ever actually pass Eggman. I guess he's faster than Sonic, which some Sonic lore, I guess, would hold true. But we're just going to run down here. Keep going on basically these diagonal platforms. We leave the screen, and once we're out, boom, building blows up, and that is the end of Sega Sonic. Now, for game 2 in the ISO trilogy, we are going to start with our Sonic Labyrinth here. Sonic Labyrinth is also played on a Game Gear. It's also played on an emulator. But as you can see, I have it in the background of the game ready to go. So when Sega Sonic ends, it's perfectly ready to go. I just have the game muted, so we don't have to worry about that. And all the audio stays the same once it's checked. So now we are in Sonic Labyrinth. So Sonic Labyrinth is not a fan favorite of many games. It's got a notorious... It's got a rep for being very hard, and the game itself isn't incredibly difficult once you get used to the physics. However, the physics and the mechanics of this game are very, very unique. So basically what we did there is we collect 3 keys in each level. Once we have 3 keys in each level, we are to find the goal. Sometimes an enemy has a key, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes they're just kind of spread out there, but the keys are in the same spot each and every time. So we do have a set pattern that we're trying to accomplish with our speed and with our our directions that we're going. Sometimes we damage boost, kind of like we did there. There is always an enemy there. I did not want to hit that like that bumper there because we got a key up here. I do press the roll button twice to cancel the roll so we slide and get where we want. And then you hold the roll button to kind of go a little bit faster there. Rolling is faster, so it's still faster to roll and then cancel the roll and then into run. However, you will see me a bunch of times where I will run to a specific spot that I want to roll, and then I kind of go from there. But that is 1-2. The game has 4 stages, so it's Labyrinth of the Sky, Labyrinth of the Castle, all that kind of stuff there. There are 4 stages in each kind of 4 acts or 4 zones, if you will. 3 where we got to find keys, and the 4th will be a boss fight. So there's a key down there. There's going to be a key up in an enemy up here. So we got to break this. Now, when keys break out of enemies, they actually go to a specific spot each time. So we kind of know where the key is going to go. So we want to set this up to where the key is at. We want to get up these hills. Hills are very, very finicky in this game, where we kind of cancel momentum, and I was able to fail that a few times. But we got the 3rd key, and we're out the door, and we are ready to go. So we now have cleared Zone 3. So now we are approaching Zone 4. So Act 4 of this level is basically a giant slope that leads into a boss fight. So all we're going to do is we're going to grab a couple of rings right at the beginning, and then we're going to hold all the way up, and we're going to let the roll go down the hill. So if we ever had any donations or announcements to be made, I can ask for that to be made during this time. Each time that we have, it's about 20 seconds or so. So 1 or 2 donations, as well if there's an announcement that needed to be made for this. Now we go down this tube, and we go down this tube into the boss room. So for this boss fight, there's 2 different strats you can do. You can kind of do it vertically, or you can almost do it diagonally. I'm one of the only ones that I know that does this diagonally, and to me, this is just a little bit safer. It is a little bit faster if you go vertically, but you just kind of charge it up and you let Sonic go, and he just kind of bounces back and forth. So you got these little, they're almost like little bomb enemies that Sonic can go off of, and you just keep rolling through the enemy. And the reason that I do it diagonally is because the enemy second cycle, if you will, rotates into the path of the diagonal that I go. If you go vertically and you miss it, then you have to set up properly and then keep going. I don't get 1 cycles often enough to where I think that's a valid strat, so I go diagonally, and it works just as fine. So now we move into 2-1 or Labyrinth of the Sea. So then now this introduces the cannons, which is, I believe, one of the only times we actually see this. So now we're going to start getting to some stages that casually would be significantly harder. Unfortunately, I take a hit there. When you take a hit, the keys will fall out in certain enemies. Certain spots, the keys will go in specific spots. So if I get hit by that enemy each time, a key will actually go there where it's supposed to. But we want to use these cannons, and it puts us correctly exactly where we go. But again, casually, this is when these levels start become a nightmare, because without using those cannons in those specific order, you will not be able to get those keys, and you'll end up just kind of wandering around for a while. So that is the end of 2-1. Now we're going to 2-2, and now we're going to see the first instance of some doors. So these doors will take us to different spots of the level. So now we do have an enemy here. We actually backtrack through that because the key always goes to that bottom right. We could leave that key there if we're fast enough in this next part. However, where we get a bounce backwards, instead of killing them straight away, we just decide to grab the key and then go. These doors do go to different rooms, and sometimes when you go in and out of a door, they'll actually change. So now we want to go into the second door, this middle door here, which takes us to this last and 3rd key, which also happens to be in the final room. And we kind of go up in here, and boom, we're done with 2-2. If you've blinked, you have missed the run so far. We're a little less than now halfway through already. And now we're going to make our way to 2-3. So each level or each zone has its own theme. Again, this is like Labyrinth of the Sea, even though there are no water stages. And the first level was the only level that seemed to kind of have a water feel. This level is blue. Those might be like little octopus guys if you want to consider them that, or squids. So it kind of has maybe a little bit of a water feel, but not as much as the first stage. And then after that, it kind of, the second stage had like what looked like to be grass. We don't want to go in that bonus stage. We definitely don't want to go in there. We've gotten our 2 keys already. We're going to go down here. We're going to activate this little like cannon, if you will. Once we get in there, it blows us up in the air. We grab a key as we go up in the air. The timer has stopped. We will then fall down to the ground and then finish the stage because the exit is up to our left. Now we got to be careful there because if we go too much to the middle, we'll hit that little octopus enemy and it'll shoot us backwards into those spikes. And the keys will actually go into 3 different spots of the level. If you do not grab your keys fast enough, they'll actually go back to their initial spots. So then you'd have to know which key was which, saying, oh, I know that first key's here, second key's here, because the order I get them isn't necessarily the order that the keys appear on the screen there. So now we're in 2-4, so again, this would be another spot if there was an announcement to be made or if someone had a donation that I would ask for another 20 seconds as we roll down the hill going into the second boss fight. Now we move into the second fight, and this is arguably the worst boss fight in the whole game. This is my least favorite in the whole game. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spin dash out of the way really quickly. These are like shell crabs, something. So basically the big version of it spawns up top. You can only hit it when it opens its shell. It is completely RNG of when it's going to stop, when it's going to open, all that stuff there. The big goal is to get 2 hits from them. So there's not a crazy strat for this. It's just to try to get lucky. That was a very, very clean boss fight. But sometimes the enemy won't stop going back and forth. Sometimes it stops when you don't want it to stop. And it just kind of does not work out game there. It just doesn't work sometimes. Alright, we are now into 3-1. World 3 is probably my favorite stages of the game. They can be some of the harder stages as well, just from where enemy placements are at. But this one has a key where the enemy is actually moving, and if you are not on the right spot, then it gets very, very hard for you to hit that enemy. However, that enemy will always have the same pattern, so if you know where it's coming, as you saw that I kind of lined that up and was able to shoot myself right through its face, and get that enemy. That enemy also had 3 parts to it, so if I did not hit its head and just hit its body, then it won't also, I won't get the key yet there. The third and final key is on this platform, so it's towards the start. However, we don't get it first because we get shot down that way, so we wait. There have been times just like that right there where that enemy will actually hit me because it respawns once you go like basically off screen. And the exit is all the way here towards the bottom. I almost ran into that lightning bolt there, which would have once again scattered my keys. And that would not have been a fun time to pick those up. So that is 3-1. And now we're going into 3-2. Again, these World 3 levels have some very, very good levels. I like the design of these, and I've got some cool little trick shots that we seem to do here. This one has a bunch of platforms there. So as you see, if you take a death, our one and only death of this run, I fell through the ground. So if you miss a platform, you fall onto like a lava spike and Sonic just gets destroyed there. It's really hard to do it when the level first starts. It's very, very precise timing to get to that platform there. But if you were to die, you basically just hold down and you get on that platform right away versus having to kind of adjust yourself a little bit. But we are going around all this. Now, this is the first level besides maybe 2-1 that has even more specific routing. These platforms go in specific directions, and if you don't go the specific route, you can stay here for a while. So this level would be very, very challenging when it comes down to it. We grab our one and only power-up. The power-up is random sometimes. So sometimes we get speed shoot, sometimes we get like a timer, which is what we got there. It's faster for me to do that than try to go like down and around. You got to go down, roll, down, across. And that way when we go back, we can just hold right back. We avoided this key right here because we wanted to be able to bounce the second key off the wall. So now that we get that third key, it lines us up perfectly, and we are done with 3-2. 3-3 is probably my favorite level of the entire run, and it's also the level that can kill a vast majority of my runs as well, just because of the ending. Does not always like to work for me. But the first two keys here, very, very awesome. I love that. We just hold straight down. We go off of this and get onto this platform. Then we roll right down here to this other platform, which the key is just to our left. So we bounce off the wall back to this platform. And then within 2 seconds, we've gotten 2 keys. Now, if I did not know the speed run of this level would have taken me a ton casually. Now, when I learned the run of this game and played this casually, I didn't even try to basically beat the game on my own. I just kind of looked at a speed run and just followed kind of the route. There's not really any, tricks and stuff like that when it comes to that. Now, we are going to get to a specific spot so we can kill all 4 parts of the enemy there. A lot of times that enemy has hit me and I have lost runs specifically to this stage. And it's hit me as I've gotten on the platform because it gets really, really close if you let it go around as you're waiting for the platform. So we figured out that if you just roll up a little bit, that enemy comes right in your grill and you can roll right through it. So now we are done with 3-3 and we move on to the third fight. This is probably my favorite fight of them because it can go really fast, but it can also go really slow. But this is finally more dependent on you as a runner versus the second level where it's, more RNG and that kind of stuff there. But once again, we'd have any time for donations or announcements that need to be made. That's the sound effect for the little teleporter part there. So now we're going to go up to the top right hand corner and we're going to wait. We got a bunch of spikes here that are being shot out. And the enemy basically looks like these little enemies here. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold down and we're going to bounce off the wall a couple times. When it gets farther away, we're going to bounce and then hit it again to cancel our roll. So that way we can get faster bounces. And when it gets closer to it, then we just bounce back off the wall. And that was a perfect fight. That was very, very quick, very, very well done. If you do take damage, there's rings up to the top right of that you can grab a ring just in case. But it can be very sketchy sometimes for that as well. Now we are going into the last 4 stages of the game. And if you played this casually or try to play this casually, this is where the game ramps up its difficulty. There's a bunch more puzzle-esque, if you would, of where the keys are at. 4-1's not as bad, but 4-2 and 4-3 could be miserable if you don't know where you're going. Once again, once the keys are all the same, they do not change. So where I know where they're all at, I know which doors to take and which route to take. So it's pretty easy. And 4-1 is not any different. 4-1 is kind of the relaxation before the storm of 4-2 and 4-3. All right. 4-2, along like I think it was 2-2, when you go to some doors, when you come out of a door, it doesn't always necessarily mean you're coming out of the same door. So the first door we're going to go up does work as a way as it should. When I go in, I'm just going to go in this door here. I'm going to hold, and I'm going to go all the way down to the end of it and go through here. Now, I'm only going to hold charge a little bit because there is no, red and white boundary. You can actually just fall off that, and then you die and have to restart the level over. I hold a max spin and kind of slide through the key as well as through the enemy. We do the same thing here. We just hold down to get to the end. Now, we do not want to get hit by an enemy here because these keys can fly in a lot of weird places, and you'd have to wait for them to despawn to then pick them back up. We get on the inside part of this blue little conveyor belt. We're going to hit this key, and then we're going to leave this room here, and then we actually have to leave the room once we enter it right away. And then we have to hit a switch right away. And then now this takes us back into the final area of this stage. So once this door comes through, the door does not actually mean the right way. And if we did not hit that key or that button, we would not be in the right spot. But again, we know where it's all at, and boom, that is 4-2, and we actually get a little tiny cutscene. It's a clock for whatever it's worth, and little doves coming out of the clock. So it added a small little feature for whatever reason. Again, it's just a castle level. I don't really know why it does that, but hey, why not, right? So now we are entering 4-3, Labyrinth of the Castle. So the last actual level where we have to get any kind of keys. Again, this is arguably the hardest stage in the entire game if you do not know where you're going. There are tons and tons of enemies. There are tons and tons of doors, and all the doors lead you to the wrong parts of the level. So we're going to go here. We don't even see the sea monster here. We've already gotten one key. We're going to go down here. We're going to go all the way down to the end and go back up. Now we want to go up here and enter the door to our right hand side. Once we enter this door, we want to hold up in the spin dash because that ground, water, whatever you kind of want to call it, is pushing you off. So it pushes you off, we go to a spot of the level that we don't want to go to. So then we want to go through here, and it is the reason we want to exit the way that we came in is because it actually takes us to where the third and final key is at. So we have our third and final key right there. Now we exit that room, and the exit is all the way at the bottom. We got to be careful of these spikes. We don't want to hit those spikes and make that go on the other spot. Now we made a mistake, and we actually went, and we have a perfect example there of the doors don't return. At that point, I actually have no idea where I'm going. I had to kind of figure out by just random doors, like, okay, I know where I'm at now. But I bonked off the gold side, and it pushed me through the other door. But again, once I went back through that door, it wasn't the same door that came in. So we lost some time on that stage for the run that we were doing. But if we don't do that, we'd have a very, very good 4-3. And now we are in the final stage of the game, 4-4. We are now going to fight the evil, the one, the only, the Dr. Eggman. But just like before, we would ask for any donations or announcements that need to be made, and we will let this go here. So now we are entering the final boss. This boss has 2 phases. It's kind of a 2-stage type fight. So we're really almost 3 if you want to call this as a stage. So we stand up here to the top. We cannot be hit. None of these little Eggman bombs things come up here this high. They always land the exact same spot. After that final one lands to the right, a giant Eggman comes out and drops a bomb on our head. Basically what happens is we just rinse and repeat, and we do this a bunch of times. So there's hit number 2. We wait for the bomb, small dash, re-roll, and there's hit number 3. We bounce back. So we want to make sure Eggman moves as little as possible, so that way it's as fast as possible to beat this fight. So that was hit number 4, or number 3. I believe that was hit number 4 right there. We keep rolling, and then once we get enough hits on Eggman, I believe it's 6 hits, and that was hit number 5 right there. This should be hit number 6. Eggman turns into just a face, and kind of rinse and repeat. However, this time he shoots a little laser beam that's actually faster. I actually took damage, so Sonic is unable to actually gather rings back once he takes damage. So on boss fights, once we lose damage and we take damage and we lose our rings, we don't get them back. Unless there's somewhere on the stage, which in this case there is not. So we got to be very careful we don't take hit again. So we roll through him again. We make sure he moves around just a little bit so we have a little bit better timing. I believe we're down to 1 hit left. We hit him here. We bounce back into the emerald, and there it is. We are done with Sonic Labyrinth. Now we have moved onto the Sonic 3D Blast portion of our ISO trilogy, or just the Sonic 3D Blast portion of our run. Again, Sonic 3D Blast, we are playing on original Genesis, and everything on this game the audio is muted until it is needed. So we've made all 3 clean game switches without having very little pauses in between, very little to no kind of tech required once everything's set up perfectly, back to back to back. Now, Sonic 3D Blast, we are going to be blasting through this game as fast as we can. This is my main speed game. This is the first ever speed run that I attempted. This has been the one that I have stuck with the most, and the one that I have the most fun with. And we've really have gone through and done a lot of optimization over the last few years in 3D Blast. That has really pushed this time down to now a low tier 25 for that, when we thought 26s were going to be awesome to get. Now we're getting close to where a 24 is in the realm of possibility. So Sonic 3D Blast has 5 flickies that you gather in each area. As you can see, as I'm already getting them, they have different colors. Different colors mean that the flickies AI will do different things. So far, all we've seen is blue and purple, and essentially they kind of react the same way. They're just kind of designed to find Sonic. They kind of go towards Sonic, so wherever Sonic is at, they do tend to go towards. And then right here, we get our first instance of a red flicky. Now, if I allow a red flicky to touch the ground, which I hope does not happen, the red flicky will bounce back and forth basically in that same spot. It bounces really high in the air. So we don't want those to get loose, but they do stay in the same spot. Every flicky that comes out of an enemy, it stays with that same enemy type. So those worm enemies or snake enemies always have a red flicky no matter what. So we've done a great job of not allowing the red flickies to kind of jump around. And sometimes, as we saw in the first stage, and even there for a brief second, we will break a flicky out of the Batnik and let the flicky kind of run towards Sonic. So again, it only works for blue and purple. Once the blue or purple kind of come the way that we want them to go, it's faster than sometimes just waiting to collect them. We can actually do a few unique things, but we only do that a handful of times, and really that's 2 of the times that we're going to do them right there. We are now in the third. We're now in the third phase of the third type of level. In 3D Blast, the third stage of every zone or act is a boss fight. Well, boss fights range, but that fight right there is we want to keep the egg spike ball in the center as much as possible. But again, if you blink, you've missed GG3, and now we are in a Rusty Ruin. The one cool thing, again, that you will not be hearing through this submission, since it's just a commentary over, is the music in 3D Blast is fantastic. I love just about every single track in 3D Blast, whether it be the Genesis version or even the Saturn version. And Rusty Ruin is one of my favorite bangers. It is so good. Also, with Rusty Ruin, we're going to see right here the second time we're going to see this, but the only time we see this in any stage is this little spin platform. So these spin platforms allow Sonic to break these pillars that you would not be able to pass otherwise. And realistically, this is the only sketchy part in the spin. You have to make your way all the way down these steps through some spike balls. There's a fire cannon up top that we just were able to dodge to break those platforms there in order to progress. If you take damage, you got to go all the way back up top, and you got to break those platforms again. So now we're going to go through here. We're going to beat the final section of here. Again, each section has 5 flickies, and we want to take all 5 flickies into the end. That was another instance of where we hit a Badnik, let the blue flicky come out. The blue flicky finds Sonic, so we know it's going to come towards us down the hill, so we can kind of combo it off of the alligator onto the B, and then once we jump off the B, the blue flicky's on the edge of the stairs, and we kind of run up the hill and we're done. So a little bit of flicky management optimization there. Just saves just fractions of seconds, which again at this point this run has really come down to that. So now we've already gotten all 5 flickies in area 1. We're going to kind of go through here. And then we're going to use some new springs as well as little trampoline sections on this hill. And we're going to make sure we break this platform just the right way, and we can jump right across. We don't even need to platform right there. Having to actually platform in this game is can be very troubling. Right there was also an instance of Sonic can avoid taking damage. So we have not seen this yet, but if Sonic takes damage, all the flickies will kind of disperse. All those flickies will fall off of Sonic, and then you got to go regather them up again. However, Sonic has kind of a what we call a flicky tail, if you will. So you saw me running a little bit faster there. All the flickies are behind me. Well, the first flicky in that last zone ended up getting hit by the fire, but Sonic did not. So the flicky still came off of Sonic, even though we did not take damage. So we didn't lose any rings, but we did lose a flicky. But we are once again in this spin state. We break down these platforms or these pillars there, break these pillars right in front of the goal ring. And we are out of Rusty 2. Now, 3D Blast does have some quick boss kills, which is actually kind of unique. They can be very very interesting. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna damage boost into the hitbox up there, and allows us to get on this paw, and we can then get all 6 hits up on top of the paw. It works like a charm every time as long as you have the same direction and same movement patterns there. But that was Rusty 3 quick kill. Now we move into everybody's favorite section, Spring Stadium 1. Right, everyone's favorite thing. The music here is probably the worst track on the game. It's still not terrible. It suits the stage, but it's just not the best. And we're now going to see the second instance of the Gold Shield. I did not explain the Gold Shield the first time. The Gold Shield has a homing attack. So we picked this up because it's basically in our route anyways, and it makes the rest of the stage not free, but it makes the stage where you don't actually have to be precise on your jumps. As long as you just jump in the air and you're within range of a badnik, then Sonic will home in onto it and it works just fine. So now we're going through the section 2 here. The Spring Stadium 1 only has 2 sections to it. We're going to kill this spider. We're going to roll down here, get the speed shoes, get the other crab. We're going to try to avoid taking damage from the walls, which is good. Hit the balloons, 2 balloons, another homing attack onto the little mosquito. We want to jump off of the side there, so we made a mistake because jumping off the side can hit that pufferfish before it blows up. The pufferfish is the only enemy in the game where if it has a phase where you cannot hit it. So it was blown up. I would have actually taken damage. I wouldn't have been able to break through it. So I had to wait and stay there for like 2 seconds before it, it becomes vulnerable again. So now we are in Spring Stadium 2. We're going to go through here. We have some spears in the ground. Those will come into more of a play towards the end if I don't have a gold shield. So we're going to see another instance of our gold shield here right at the end of this first section. So once we get all 5, we're going to turn them in first. But right below us, where you cannot see, we have a gold shield. We're going to bounce off the wall, bounce back up, get onto this little spin cycle platform there. We're going to roll off and hit the speed shoes in our roll state so we don't actually have to stop. Now we got our speed shoes, so we are really, really fast. So controlling Sonic in this state can be very difficult sometimes because the faster that we go, Sonic can get very, very, very out of control. So we're going to jump down here, try to avoid those bumpers. We fortunately get it super clean, but not too slow. That pufferfish we're unable to get before it blows up no matter how fast we go. They are camera based, so by the time it gets on camera, we can't actually force our way to get that early. But this one right here blows up perfectly just fine. We get 3 more enemies here. We have this first crab, which if I don't jump high enough, I can actually take damage using the homing attack. And then this section right here with the gold shield is very trivial. Without the gold shield, the death is a possibility. So having the gold shield throughout is very, very important here. But we are through Spring 3, and we're almost about halfway mark of the game. Now we move into Spring 3. Spring 3 also has a quick kill. We're going to go for an 8-hit kill right on the middle. However, if I'm not mistaken, we do not get the 8 hits. We're too close to the edge. So we get 4 quick hits. We bail out because we know we cannot get all 8. We want to get all 8 from the top up there. The last 4 from the top. We took damage because we actually did not wait for Eggman to get in the right spot. But we knew if we went over there and waited to the top left-hand corner, he would come over there. And we can kind of end that kill there. So it's a 24-second fight with an 18. Basically, 17 is the best, but normally 18 is what everyone goes for. So we lost 6 seconds because we did not get all 8 hits off the beginning. Now we're moving on to Diamond Dust. Diamond 1 is a fantastic stage. I love Diamond Dust in general. Now, this is the game where if you like ice physics, Sonic 3 Blast controls like Sonic is on ice, and then now we're going to add ice physics on top of your ice physics. We've already beat the first section there. We're going to hit that spring, go over, and now we're in a little auto-scroller type area. We cannot move. We don't break out of this. We actually need to get frozen so Sonic rolls through this. And we're going to hit our first enemy right when we come out. We're going to hit 2 more penguins, and then we're going to make our way up this like icy slope, snowy slope. We want to make this up into 3 or 4 jumps. 4 jumps is perfect. We ended up missing the purple flicky grab, but as you can see, that purple flicky kind of come towards us. So, you know, that's fantastic. And then we're going on to the 3rd section. Now, I have mentioned the blue and purple flickies, and I have also mentioned the red flickies. And as you see at this grab, they're a green flicky, everyone's least favorite flicky in the game. Everyone will say that the green flicky feels like it tries to avoid Sonic. However, the green flicky is programmed with RNG, so that only RNG in the game, and it's actually not even RNG when you break it down. It's kind of the inputs that you've had up until the flicky comes out is the actions that the flicky will take. So in reality, if you're able to press the same buttons every single time, the green flickies will move the same way every single time. However, that is just not possible in these runs, having the same button presses exactly at the same time. So essentially the green flicky movement is completely RNG for, you know, RTA runners. So now we are into Diamond 2, and before you know it, the first part of Diamond 2 is already over. Alright, so now we're going to go down this icy slope here. We're going to do a couple of jumps to help us kind of get some momentum down the hill. Now, if you take these snowmen, so not very many enemies have I rolled through and have killed. Snowmen enemies actually can kill you if you roll through them. Now, we have found out in the community that you do not get crushed if you roll through an enemy. You do not get crushed through it. It is not considered a crushed death. You can get crushed in this game by various platforms, but that is not a crushed death. So what we're thinking happens is Sonic will get hit by the ice block and then get hit again essentially at the same time. So we kind of take double the damage. Or something along those lines. So if I roll through a certain snowman, you actually will die. And that one snowman specifically, if I roll through it, you die every single time. But that was Diamond 2. Diamond 2. And now we move to Diamond 3, one of the kind of auto-scroller-ish bosses that take a while. So this would be a perfect time if there was any donations or announcements that would need to be made. That is the boss fight for DD3. And now we're moving on to some of my favorite stages. We're going to move into Volcano Valley. Volcano Valley 1, we go for this kill here. So we want to roll that enemy through that enemy. We want to get the invincibility. And when we jump across, we want to grab the blue flicky. We missed it, but got a quick secondary grab. The reason the invincibility is so important here is because we have those fire cannons there. We got fireballs that are shooting through there. We have this fire bar right there. You can make it through that section unscathed if you don't have invincibility, but the invincibility is right there. It's literally right next to the enemy. Just go ahead and grab the invincibility and make your life significantly easier when you're playing this game here. This is the first instance that we see of kind of like a little teleporter area there. So we go into like those little chutes and it shoots us from one section to the next. That is the only time that we're actually going to go ahead and do that in this game. as there's other sections in this level and in Volcano 2 that have that, but it just kind of leads to power-ups and various other rings, or sometimes it even ends up to Tails or Knuckles. I have not talked about Tails or Knuckles yet, so Tails or Knuckles in this game are actually the special stages. So if you find Tails or Knuckles and you give them 50 rings, then you get teleported to a special stage. The difference between this Genesis version and the Saturn and PC ports is you can only access one special stage per level. The Genesis version, you're able to access both. So our best ending route is actually a little bit different than the other versions for the Genesis, is because you can access both Tails and Knuckles if they're along the same route and if it's, reasonable to grab them. The other level games, if you don't do it, or if you give the other 150 rings, then you'll end up just getting a 1-up for your trouble. But you still get all your rings taken from you. So now we're in Volcano 2. So Volcano 2 is another one of my favorite stages as well. Very, very quick. So we're going to get in the elevators. And the elevators, we actually do a little quick elevator jump. So we don't let the elevator get to the top of the part up there. We have a visual cue from if we do a spin roll into the wall and jump at the same time, or jump at a particular time. We'll kind of just climb that wall there. We take the spring and we have to dodge an elevator right there. We need 3 more enemies. We get this mosquito, then we get this whatever lizardy guy right there. We roll through this little ladybug person, and then we get on this last elevator, and it's the end of the stage. So this is a very, very, very fast stage when done correctly. Very, very quick. But you can lose tons and tons of time if you take damage with your fire shield and you don't have a fire shield at the end. It is not, it's not any fun. So now we move to Volcano 3. Volcano 3 has like a super quick kill on top of an actual quick kill that we'll go for. So normally your quick kills, you just stand on these pipes and you can kill Eggman in about 20 seconds. I go for this where if you stand right next to Eggman, you can actually get an 18-second kill. So it's 2-second IGT faster in this game. Now, the runs in this game are RTA. We do RTA runs, but we do have like a secondary kind of IGT. The reason we do RTA over IGT is because there's no hundreds, tens and hundreds of a second. So like a 14.5 is the same as a 15.4. So you have basically that whole second in between that can be different. And if you actually look at our leaderboards, I currently hold the RTA world record by about a second. But my IGT is about 3 seconds behind. Second place is TGH there. So that means a bunch of my levels were within those fractions of tenths off, ahead or behind. So now we go to Giga. Giga 1 is the hardest stages of the game in my opinion. I do tell people that are also learning this game that if you want to start learning 3D Blast, play through Giga 1 and 2 as much as you can. Once you feel comfortable with Giga 1 and 2, then you can kind of play the rest of the game pretty, I wouldn't say easily, but the rest of the game would be significantly easier because these stages have some of the hardest obstacles and consistent movement throughout there. But we're already almost done with Giga 1. We take this last teleporter, we go up and through, and we are done with Giga. With Giga 1. Now, Giga 2 is everyone's least favorite stage of the game in terms of the slope of rage. So hopefully we don't get sloped here. So we want to first run down here, and we take this teleporter and we go down to the bottom. And this takes us into this room with this Badnik that is at the bottom of the slope of rage. We hit this first is because we do not plan to come back. Right? We don't want to come back to that slope of rage. So then we go through here. We hit our little mouser enemy, and now we're at the top of the slope of rage. So we want to set this up. I make sure I set this up to have the right direction. So we just go all the way over to the right. We run off this. We go down to the left. We get this enemy without getting hit by the cannon, and we go back to the right on top of the slope right there. If I'm if I'm pixels to the right, you'll actually hit a little trigger, and it'll send you down the slope of rage, and you lose about 20 plus seconds by time you go down out of the teleporter, all that good stuff. Not to mention, if you lose a flicky down there, you have to go in and out of teleporters. It's just not a fun time. So good thing we avoided that. we're getting to the end of the stage here. We have 2 more enemies to kill. We have an octopus here. We've got 1 more blowfish, pufferfish. We're going to stay up here. We're going to jump up to the top. We're going to snag that enemy there. And then we are going to deposit our flickies into the ring. And we are done with Giga 2. Now moving into Giga 3, it's another like auto-scroller type boss. Can't do much to speed this up. So this would be another fantastic spot if we had donations or any kind of announcements that need to be made would be during this time. One cool thing about this boss fight is I like to be able to hold Sonic against the wall there, and if you just let Sonic drift in that right angle, then we T-pose. We have to assert dominance over Eggman. That is one of our memes that we have. But as you can see, the Eggman just kind of slides back and forth. We avoid those little spiky blocks, which are in the same spot every time. And if you hit Eggman around the same time, he comes down around the same time, so everything can line up perfectly there. So that is Giga 3, and we are down to the final 3 levels of 3D Blast and of this entire run. So now we're in Panic Puppet. Now Panic Puppet has its gimmick. Or 1, it's the only level that has only 1 area, and 2, the lore states that Eggman did not have enough time and just put flickies in these canisters. Now, we've gotten better at hitting these canisters over time, but realistically, these canisters are terrible. You can get shoved into a canister. Sometimes you can't hit the canisters. You have to hit the very, very top of them in order for them to break, and they can be very, very finicky. It's just not a good time when you start playing this game trying to break these canisters. We avoid that invincibility there because it just loses time. It loses a second to grab the invincibility. So we just run around. We don't take any damage. We get in a super long conveyor belt. And we can go for this. It's I believe, a frame perfect jump off of this like switch there, and then you can actually get up there without getting hit by any of the fans, and you just go put right up in there. But a fantastic Panic 1, and now we move on to the second to last stage of the game. This is the one and only stage that does not have flickies in it. That is not a boss fight. So now we are just trying to transverse all the way to the Eggman fight. So we're going to go down this hill. We're going to kind of damage boost to grab the invincibility shoes, the speed shoes, and we're going to go really, really fast through this level. We're going to jump on the conveyor belt because it's faster to jump on the conveyor belt than to walk on it. And then we're going to go through Eggman. We're going to see Eggman. We're going to run around. We're going to try to cut this corner right through here in front of the cannon. And now we're up to our MIP. MIP stands for Mandatory Isometric Platforming. And we hit the MIP first try. The one time we actually have to platform in this game. And if you miss that jump, you lose 7 to 8 seconds every single time. If you want to wait, you can almost guarantee it every single time. However, if you jump too far up and you get on the slope, you can actually kind of phase right through the platform. So you can hit your jump and then just the game can be like, nope, we're not going to give it to you, and you lose. So now we are on the final boss fight. This boss fight has 3 phases. The first phase, he has 2 hands, which is the same for every phase. Each hand has to be hit 4 times. In this phase here, we just want to get Sonic to get to the hand to drop on us. When the hand drops, the hitbox becomes open. We go through, boom, 8 hits, and we're done. And now we go to the fire phase. So the fire phase is the easier of the 3 phases, even though phase 3 is not much more challenging potentially than this phase. We hit the hand, we hold the spin until we hear a charge of 3 to 4. Then we let it go without pressing any buttons. We then hit jump when we hit the corner going into Eggman, and it shoots Sonic right where we need to go. When we have the 3 or 4 charge, then once we jump the second time, it will always get the second hit at the most optimal time. And we do the same thing, rinse and repeat for all 8 hits. And now we're on phase 3. Now, phase 3 has the Eggman shooting blue balls out of his hand. The quicker, the better the hit, then we can be blue ballless, which is the most optimal. If a ball comes out of his hands here, it has a chance of hitting Sonic. So right there, I messed up on one of my rolls. So now there's 2 balls coming out. If you can then get hit by those balls, you lose damage, you lose timing, everything gets thrown off. The more balls that come out, in theory, the longer the fight lasts because we did not get an optimal hit. But again, each hit takes 4 hand hits. And with 8 hit there, we are done. When the screen fades out, there we go. That is the run. That is Sonic 3D Blast. I hope whoever watched this marathon submission has enjoyed this run, and yeah, that's what we got. This is for 3D Blast, and also again our ISO trilogy, but 3D Blast as an individual. Thank you for watching, and y'all take care.